So-Called is sponsored by LoveBoiseParks.org, which donates 50% of all profits to support, promote, and preserve open spaces in Boise, Idaho. Use promo code SOCALLED for 10% off all your purchases at LoveBoiseParks.org.
I thought, well, if I just get that next job, if I just go, up the ladder a bit more, then things will be better, right? And none of that's true. None of it's true.
This is Mark Wojcik, and I'm wondering, how's your so-called career? Welcome to So-Called, the podcast that explores the why and how of work. On today's episode, we meet Gemma Gaudette, host of Idaho Matters on Boise State Public Radio. When we met, I asked Gemma to describe Idaho Matters and what it's like to be part of creating a new show.
It's a live daily talk show, Monday through Friday, and we explore the issues affecting Idaho. So, whether it's the legislature, other things going on in politics, all the way down though to arts and entertainment. So we really cover the gamut, and I think it gives people a really great sense of what matters to Idaho, right? And I think that's the heart of the show. For years, I'll take you back. For years, the NPR affiliate in Boise wanted to have a live daily talk show. There were many iterations of how this would look. And when I was brought on, they knew it would be live. They knew it would be Monday through Friday. They still hadn't figured out what time it would play, kind of what it would fully look like. So for a few months, we really worked on that. And then as a team, we launched it in April of 2018.
Yeah. Well, did you enjoy the process of kind of figuring out where it would go?
I did. What's interesting is in my career, this is the second time I've had the opportunity to launch a show from scratch. I moved to Boise in 1999 to start the Fox 12. And I was the first main anchor for the Fox station. So same thing, where you're starting from scratch. And there is something really, really magical and special about being on the ground floor like that. Because as a team, you do get to create it. I didn't have to walk in and then step into someone else's shoes. I didn't have to try to make the show my own, because I was already coming into this clean slate, and we got to figure it out.
Yeah.
And so that's really kind of nice to not be compared to what someone else did or how the show used to be. And it's been really fun. And it's been a really great process.
Gemma knew early on that she was interested in journalism. Her career started in television news, where she eventually worked in a major market.
From the time I was about 4 years old, I knew I wanted to go into some type of journalism and everything. And I took the route of television news. And I wanted to get into a major market, possibly go to the network. And I was lucky enough to get to a major market. And when that happened, and I did that, for me, it wasn't all it was cracked up to be. So made the decision to come back to Boise and stay in television news. And, and over time, I didn't love what I was doing enough to make all the sacrifices to stay within the industry.
Yeah.
So I left for about 4.5 years. And when this opportunity came up, I wasn't missing broadcasting. I wasn't missing doing that at all. There were certain things that interested me about this. I liked the idea of interviewing people. I think I have a natural curiosity, and so I just like to talk to people and hear their stories.
Sure.
But on the other side of that, this position allowed me to be a mom. I have 2 children, and it allows me to leave at a certain time of day so that I can pick them up every day after school. That was vitally important to me, to still be able to do that. Little did I know in this process how much I would love what I'm doing. And I tell people all of the time that I feel like the 20 years I spent in television broadcasting all led up to me doing what I'm ultimately supposed to be doing in my career, which is this program. And I feel very blessed to be in that position, even when there have been bumps in the road with the show. I still got up here every single day and looked forward to coming to work. And I look forward to what we do every single day. And I think what that is that television news has morphed a lot over the last, I think, 20 years, where, you're lucky if you get a 1-minute story on something, right? It's just how the industry has morphed. So doing what we do on public radio with this show, that the shortest interview that we do is 12 minutes on one topic. And I feel like I am actually doing a service to our community.
Yeah.
A true service. And I think that is the heart of what journalism is, and why people who really want to be journalists go into that industry.
Yeah.
It is to educate and inform and give people the information they need to make educated and informed choices and decisions.
While television news was not ultimately the best career fit for Gemma, the experience served her well and helped prepare her for her role on Idaho Matters.
I spent 2 years in Tampa, Florida, so I was in a very large market, and there are, pick up any paper, the weirdest headlines, where do they come out of? They come out of Florida. So like everything crazy happens in Florida, but also major national news events. So like I covered a presidential election. I covered NASA's return to flight. We were there where they had 2 major hurricane seasons where it got into the Greek alphabet. There were so many of them. So Hurricane Katrina. Those were the stories that I was able to be a part of and cover. So from a news standpoint, I experienced news at a level that, knock on wood, you're never going to have in Boise, right?
Sure.
So it was a phenomenal experience in that regard, but I realized that it didn't fit me. Like it didn't, and part of it could have been Tampa and Florida and not my bag. But I think part of it too was that I wanted to be able to step away from my work and turn it off. And I think when you're in a really major market like that, it's really hard to do. And I wanted a career and I wanted a life.
Yeah.
And I needed to find that balance. And for me, I don't think I could have found a very good balance remaining in a major market.
On Idaho Matters, Gemma enjoys being able to help listeners make informed, educated decisions about state and local issues.
I really like that because I think that I think that my job, as I mentioned, is to educate and inform. It's not my job to give my opinion on something. It's for me to give you the information so that you, as an Idahoan, can make an informed decision about something. Mm-hmm. So to be able to talk about something, let's take the legislature, for example.
Sure.
The fact that we can take maybe 12 minutes all the way up to 30 minutes to talk about, something that is going on in the legislature, like Medicaid expansion, let's say. To be able to go that in depth about something, I think there is such value in that as an average person. And I hope that what we do is break it down in a way that it makes sense and that you're informed. You just cannot do that with a 1 minute or 2 minute news story.
Yeah.
It's not possible.
Right.
Not on the big, really in-depth issues. We can bring those journalism experts in to talk about the things that they are experts in, and then they have this institutional knowledge that goes back 10, 20, some years. And when we're at the reporter roundtable and someone like Bill Manny, who used to be with Idaho Statesman and is now with Idaho Public Television, can say, well, back in 1995 when I covered blah, 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 and all of a sudden there's this context that gives even more depth and more meaning to an issue of today. So then think about if you have just moved here,
sure,
right?
Yeah.
Like we have, as we know, Idaho's the fastest growing state, Boise's the fastest growing city, all of this. And so I think too, it's a way for people that are moving here to get to know the state they're living in, mm-hmm. and not just what it looks like today,
yeah.
but how we got to this spot today. And that's the thing, is like, so that's, I think, why I love what I'm doing, is that when I'm done with the show every day, I feel good about what we put on the air. I feel like we have given, hopefully, people some nugget of information, maybe educated them a little bit. I mean, sometimes I hope we make them laugh, right?
Yeah, sure.
And that it's just that there is just something that they walk away with that gives them a broader perspective of what Idaho is.
Given Gemma's lifelong interest in journalism, it was fortunate that she lived in Washington, where Washington State University has a top-rated journalism school. The program provided both instruction and career mentorship. Going
there and getting into that program, then there was mentors. You know, I had a professor, and if anybody went to WSU and they were a communication major, they knew who Glenn Johnson is. And Glenn was the most influential professor I ever had. And first off, what it was is that he saw a raw talent and ability in me that I don't think that I even saw. And he was hard on me. You know, I remember I took an advanced speech class with him, and I got straight A's, you know, A pluses and all this. And I remember doing this one speech and I got an A minus. And he wrote on it, he goes, "You got an A minus because you're good at it, not because you tried." And I remember being like, oh, okay. Ouch. He noticed that I did not put any effort into this one at all. And he really, you know, guided me in understanding what the profession would look like. And he followed my career. And I've been back to Pullman, and I've spent time with him. He is now retired, but he was the mayor of Pullman. He's the voice of the Cougars. But just such a good human being.
If somebody were interested in getting into broadcast news, right, whether it's radio, TV, anything, what should they know, or what things are not known, and what should somebody know going into that kind of a career?
You're not going to make the kind of money you think you're going to make. Let's just start there. You're going to make more money working at McDonald's. I mean, and truly, I think that is something that there's a misnomer that it is a very glamorous profession. And not that money isn't, I mean, you can make money in this industry. Most people, though, don't make the six-figure incomes in broadcasting, because there are very few of those positions. You have to be in major markets, and you have to be at the network. There are some smaller markets, maybe if you're a news anchor, but that's also shifting, where they're going away from those big name news anchors and all of that, because it's not how any of us digest news anymore. So don't think that you're going to get, you know, horribly wealthy doing this. You might get lucky, and you might.
Okay.
I think too that it's a very demanding profession. Things like, especially if you're in what I call like commercial broadcasting, the news happens on Christmas, and it happens on Thanksgiving, and it happens on the 4th of July, and they don't tape it, it's live. So you don't get holidays off.
Yeah.
You know, there's not that option. So the news is you have to feed the beast. I mean, it's 365 days a year. And I think it's incredibly demanding in that sense. The piece of advice that I always give younger people when they ask me about going into journalism or broadcasting, I always say, if you can imagine doing something else, go do it. If you can't imagine doing something else, then do this.
I know that's in reference to journalism, but I think that's good advice probably on any career choice.
You want to love what you do, but you also want to be able to walk away and have your life, because journalism and broadcasting is so time consuming, and there are so many demands on you and your life. you're, and you're moving every couple of years to try to move your career up. So you're also kind of on your own and by yourself. And you just have to ask yourself, it's like, is that worth it?
Yeah.
To do all of that?
Yeah. Back to the question: if you can't imagine yourself doing anything else, then this is it.
Right.
But
if you can, if you can imagine yourself doing something else that might make you just as fulfilled, do it, because I bet you it's an easier path.
So looking ahead, so you're doing Idaho Matters now.
Mm-hmm.
Is there like a next big thing that you want to do, or somewhere where you want to take the show next, or some other show?
I want this show to be mine, and what I mean by that is like I want to do this for quite a while. I think that this show is already moving and progressing forward. We've been on the air for 15 months or so. And I want to see where we can take it next, in the sense of like, can we do a live show? Can we take it on the road? Like, what are the next iterations of the show? That's kind of what I would hope.
Part of seeing where the show goes next is helping listeners understand the different points of view from around Idaho.
I have had this experience of living in other parts of Idaho, and every single part of Idaho I've lived in has a distinct personality, has a distinct culture. There are different types of beliefs. It gives you a better understanding as to why people vote the way they vote, why we have, certain laws or certain regulations. I think it just gives you a broader understanding of what makes Idaho Idaho. Yeah. And I think we need to challenge ourselves to get out of our bubbles.
Yes.
Right? We can go back into them, that's fine. But
that's right.
But get out of it and try to see. You do not have to agree with why people are the way they are, or why they have certain ideologies. But I think sometimes if we can try to maybe understand someone else that is unlike us, I think we can also give each other grace, which goes a long way in making change actually happen. So I hope that's what the show does.
Looking back, what advice would you give your younger self?
Well, that's a good one. Not to be so worried. Just to truly know everything will work out just fine. And I think that I worried. I think that I was concerned I wasn't, good enough at what I did. I think I thought, well, if I just get that next job, if I just go, up the ladder a bit more, then this will be better. Or then, if I make more money, if I do this, then things will be better, right? And none of that's true. None of it's true. It's, and so I wish that I could have told my younger self, just calm down, just enjoy the moment. And frankly, enjoy the freedom that I had in my life, even when I wasn't making squat and I might have been living in an area that I didn't love. But I was young and I had no responsibilities outside of myself. And I don't think that I appreciated that in a way that now I'm like, man, those were the good old days, right? So I think that would be the thing, just calm down and just enjoy being in this moment.
So Called is sponsored by loveboiseparks.org, which donates 50% of all profits to support, promote, and preserve open spaces in Boise, Idaho. Use promo code SOCALLED for 10% off all your purchases at loveboiseparks.org. If you enjoyed today's episode, please let us know. Subscribe and leave us a review. So Called is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and wherever you get your podcasts.